And just like that, ish got real. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to So by GG 101. Today is Thursday, which could only mean one thing. It is time for a recap, review, whatever, of Sirens. Now, before we get into this recap, review, whatever, I have 3 things I need to address. Number 1, no, I did not do a video last week, and I'm really sorry for those of you who were looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I had some really weird virus, and I was upchucking my brains out, so filming just was not an option. Yeah. Number 2, I'm sure you hear a noise going on in the background, and that is my fan, and that is because it is hot as Satan's ball sacks, okay? And I ain't turning that fan off because I'm not about to die for this review, okay? I'm not actually underwater, even though my background says that I am, okay? I'm in front of studio lights, and it's like 90 degrees outside. So that's that. And number 3, we need to address the big Maglodon in the sea right now, and that would be this big bulbous bump on my forehead. We will not talk about that, so don't say anything, okay? Now let's get into it. So you guys, tonight's episode has to be the highly anticipated episode, the most anticipated episode since even finding out that Sirens was a series and it was coming to our screen near you, okay? Tonight we had finally, getting tongue-tied, so excited. Finally, we get to see the merman. So naturally, in true Sirens form, they have some very good strategies on how to keep you wanting more. For an hour-long show, the first 30 minutes is kind of like fluff and filler, blah, 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 and the last 30 minutes is so enticing, and then it leaves you with a cliffhanger, and then you're just like, I need more. What's gonna happen next? I'm always on the fence about the show the first, like, 30 minutes, and then by the end of the 30 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I love it. Okay, here we go. First things first, Helen was not in this episode, and I was, say it with me, shook. I was shook. Helen wasn't there. Okay, she wasn't there. So this episode enters with kind of like leaving off at the end of last week, Marissa, who is the deputy to Sheriff Dale, who is Maddie's dad, she brought Ren in. So this episode began with that. So we see her bringing Ren in, and she like goes to Dale all proud, like, yo, we found her, yo, we got her. She was about to skinny dip, but we got her, right? And he's like, okay, whatever. So he goes in and he's interrogating her, and he's asking her questions, and he's asking her about the dude who tried to rape her, and she's answering the question in very Ren form. And I have to say, my favorite part was he said, who hurt whatever the man's name was, and she said, Ren. And then he was like, well, who's Ren? Best part, Ren goes, I am Ren. Like, Ren was all kinds of upset. Like, how do you not know that I'm Ren? Like, I said Ren did it. Obviously, it was me. I was weak. Ren, you got so much sass, girl. So he's talking to her, and then he said, well, who helped you? But he meant it in the context because he was a large man and she was a little girl, little physique compared to him. Like, she couldn't have done it on her own. But when he said, who helped you? Ren internalized it as, who's been helping Ren find her sister and go home? So she said, Ben and Maddie. And of course, the sheriff was like, Maddie? My Maddie? Maddie Washington, I think that was her name. And she's all like, yes. So of course, now they have to bring Maddie in. And can we just acknowledge the fact that Maddie was rocking a Journeys t-shirt? I was so proud of her. Just saying. So they bring Maddie in, and Marissa brings Maddie in, and the dad starts talking to her and saying, you know, we made a pact, and we said we would always tell each other the truth, so I'm gonna let you tell me the truth one last time about that girl that I showed you. And then she was like, I'm telling you, Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, no problem, I'll just ask Ren. And she's like, Ren? What do you mean you'll just ask Ren? Oh, I got her in the back. Like, Sheriff Daddy Dale was not playing games. Oh no. So then he was all upset with Maddie, obviously, because Maddie didn't tell him the truth, because he did approach Maddie about Ren a few episodes before with frickin' Jerry, who took her to the pool party at that rinky hostel motel hotel Holiday Inn, okay? So, she told her father that Ren will not talk to him, but he'll talk to her, and he's all like, why? And she's like, because she trusts me. So she goes in. Of course, when Ren sees her, she's all excited, and she's like trying to like break loose from the restraints, the cuffs, and Maddie's all like, listen, this is family, this is my father, and you can trust him, but in order for him to help us, you have to tell him like the truth. So they talk about Donna, and then she tries to tell her father that the reason why the blood that they found wasn't human was because Ren wasn't really human and he wasn't believing them. So there's a saltwater fish tank in the police station. He gets a picture. He gives the picture to Maddie. Maddie pours it on Ren's hand, and before she does, she said, Ren, we have to prove to him so he'll believe you, and then he'll help us, okay? And Ren making great decisions since coming on land 30 days ago, was like, okay. And then she poured the salt water on her hand, and then her hand started to turn into like the siren claws, and the father was just like, flabbergasted. And so they were talking about Ben, and so Maddie said that Ben had gone out to go with Xander. We'll talk about Xander and that whole situation later. You guys know I like to do character by character. Makes my life easier when your brain is crazy. And so she starts to like hyperventilate because she's all like, Ben is in trouble. We have to save Ben. Sister going to get bad man. I will stop sister. We save Ben. Like, Ren was upset, obviously, for a very good reason. So the father is all like, what is she talking about? And that ultimately ends with the father letting Ren go, letting Maddie go, and he believes Maddie, and I'm not sure if he's gonna try and help them. I'm assuming he will, just because that's the father. But I will say, we already can tell that Marissa, who's a deputy, has some red flags because he let them go, and she asks why. And he just said, well, her alibi checked out. She was with Maddie. And are you calling my daughter a liar? And Marissa was like, of course not. But naturally, Marissa just didn't feel like something was right. So I kind of feel like even though Daddy Sheriff Dale is trying to do the right thing, I feel like by keeping Marissa out of the loop, she's going to investigate and like kind of unearth some stuff in maybe not exactly the most positive way. Theory, possibility. You guys have been asking me to talk about some theories, so boom, there you go, there's one. Now let's move on to Ben and Xander, who I usually call Steph Curry in these videos. So last week's episode also ended for Xander with Donna jumping into the ocean, and he sees the fin. So now he knows that mermaids for sure are real, or in this case sirens are real, and he's on this mission to go get the siren that was taken from him, which ironically enough in theory was actually Donna. However, my issue with this, Xander, is that you don't own them. She wasn't yours. Just because you caught it doesn't make it yours. It wasn't something to catch, number one, okay? But that's beside the point. So Ben is all like, fine, I'll help you, because Ben knows about Donna and he still hasn't told Xander, so he kind of still wants to protect. It's like Ben is playing both sides of the fence. He wants to protect the sirens, obviously for natural reasons, but then he also wants to help Xander because Xander is his friend, and he knows in order to help the sirens, he has to kind of throw Xander off the trail. So basically what ended up happening is Decker told them from last week's episode that the military was baiting them up to the sea and then they were gonna catch them. So they decided to put in this action where they kind of blindsided them and they come up behind them sneak attack style. And that's what they did, you know, all kinds of craziness. So Ben was like, you should go get your father, because they rounded up the crew. So it was Xander, Ben, freaking Chris, and then the Asian kid. I want to say his name is Travis, but I don't remember. So Ben was like, maybe you should like tell your father, and Xander was all like, ain't nobody got time for that, okay? I'm calling the shots here. We gonna go get my mermaid. And Ben was like, all right. So they sail out, and the seas are kind of rough. Foreshadowing numero uno, okay? And the boat is rocking a lot, and it rocks so much that it wakes up Xander's father. Xander was not aware that his father was sleeping on the boat. He thought that his father was at home, and the father, of course, Papa Xander, comes up in a fit of rage. He's all like, what are you doing? Why are you on my boat? Why is my boat moving? And Xander is just like, yo, Dad, like, we need to do this, da 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 da. And obviously, because he's the son and the father situation, the father finally came on board and was like, fine, whatever, we're already out here. Like, he could say anything. They were already an hour out to sea. Come on. So they decided to go along with the plan, Papa Xander, and they stopped the boat, turn everything off, shut the line and everything, and they're like, yo, where is it? According to the coordinates, the military ship should be right here. So they're looking, they don't see anything, they don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden, out of the mist of the fog appears this ship, like it was Ghost Ship, okay? And they're like, holy crap, and they turn the ship on, the boat, they turn the North Star on, and they try to veer, but it does end up like colliding like this, straight up Titanic into the iceberg, but the Northern Star was okay. It didn't sink. And so they veered it off, even though they like friction, and they go on board and they just find blood and spears. And Ben had a really good inkling of what was going on. He was like, bro, we need to get out of here. So ultimately, after some investigation, they look around the boat and they just kept leaving Chris by himself. And I'm like, did you not learn from episode 1 to stop leaving Chris by himself? Because from the preview, we saw that somebody died and the body gets pushed overboard. And I wasn't sure who it was going to be. In my mind, I thought it would probably be Chris, just because so much has been happening to poor little Chris. But then when I see in the episode, they keep leaving Chris by himself, unattended. And it's like, the last time you did that, homeboy, okay, got knocked out by Donna and got taken away by Decker and his goon of SWAT men. Stop leaving the boy alone. So they explore the ship and they find the blood, they find the spears. They're like, nope, gotta go, dude, gotta go, we ain't part of this. Oh no, Glen Coco. So they get on their boat, they take off. While they're taking off, they noticed something was kind of different and fishy, so they had their guns ready and they were just like on guard waiting. Again, Chris is by himself and I'm like, I need y'all to stop being so spread out. And Ben was low-key shady because Ben is the only one that knows what's good with these sirens, and it's like, bruh, you know how powerful Donna and Ren are. Now granted, you may not have known that there was a merman, okay, but you did know how powerful they are. And Ren did tell you that there were other mer people. In fact, she said there were many. Okay? And you just kind of let your boys go out there completely unprepared. But you know, to each their own. So they're all out there and they have like flashlights flashing on their spherical guns or whatever you want to call it. And ultimately what ends up happening is spears start getting thrown at the boat and they're like, WTF is happening? And all of a sudden the merman comes up and he is the black merman. I don't know, like when I think of mermen, I kind of think of like, well honestly, I never thought of a guy to be a siren. Maybe I'm a sexist for that, but like when I think of a merman, I think of like King Triton. Why? Because as a child, it's really the only merman you are exposed to if you were a child that grew up in the 90s with Disney. So it's this merman and he kind of looks like the famous Jet Jackson. I'll plug it right here for those of you who are too young to know or didn't watch Disney. He low-key looked like the famous Jet Jackson. And, but he too had blue eyes. So they, like, he comes aboard and he's maneuvering on his fin. Like, straight up spearing him. Spear, 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 spear. And I don't understand how, okay, there's a reason why they are fishermen and why they're not actual hunters of animals, because none of them know how to aim and shoot a gun. I don't understand. It was one merman and Donna. And of all the rounds y'all shot, y'all didn't hit one of them. What the flip no squad? So the merman comes on and he was viciously going after Ben. I did notice that. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but he was viciously going after Ben, which I thought was really interesting because there was more men on the ship. But for whatever reason, he just kept going after Ben. And I don't understand how none of them thought to try and shoot this siren and kill him. Not that I wanted that to happen, but I'm just saying, like, logically speaking, if he is distracted by one person and there's like 3,000 of you, how did he get away? How? Doesn't make any sense. But he just kept going after Ben, and finally him and Xander tag teamed, threw him into this little pity pit thing, and closed the door. But then they hear the Asian kid upstairs screaming for Chris. Why? Because they left Chris alone. Donna boarded the ship in her siren form and started doing her siren song, and Chris starts walking towards her because he's now in a trance. Speaking of trance, let's time out. While all this is going on, Decker is, yes, in this episode, and Homeboy is laying in the bed with his headphones on like a strung out junkie, just replaying and listening to Donna's siren song. Decker looked like the only heroin fiend. Okay? Like he was just sitting there looking strung out, listening to the siren song. Like, Decker, I'm gonna need you to get your life. But that's the only thing I have to say about Decker. Let's proceed. So they shove the siren into the siren merman thing into the part of a ship or whatever, and they get Chris out of the trance because the Asian kid throws a flare gun into the sky and it scares her away. Now, my only issue with this is that, well, he tried to shoot her, but he really couldn't get a clear shot because Chris was in the way. So they get a hold of Chris and they're like, dang, like we could have got one. And Ben is like, but we did catch one. So naturally they run back to go catch the merman, but these sirens are strong AF. So he had done busted himself out of the little cell that they had him in. He had shedded his skin. So you got a black man just butt naked running around this ship, and he runs into the captain's, like, the room where the captain was steering, and Papa Xander turns around and he shanked him. Yo, he shanked him like they was in Alcatraz and he wanted his cigarettes. Oh, my heart broke. They shanked Papa Xander. And then his little black butt naked butt ran off the boat, and they're shooting everything. You're on a boat! So much. You guys, all of them, especially Xander, because the father screamed out Xan, and Xander runs up, and then the father points, and he goes, and Xander's just shooting, and I'm like, he's directly in front of you. Like, I'm directly in front of you. He's directly in front of you. How are you not hitting him? And he was so confident in the fact that Xander didn't know how to shoot a gun that the naked black man stood there. He turned around, he looked at him, and then jumped into the water, and Xander still didn't get a clear shot. How? How, Xander? How? I'm about to teach you about how to shoot a gun. I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna teach you, because I got a really good shot. Just saying. But anyway, they run back to Xander's dad, and this was definitely the saddest part, I'd have to say, of all of Sirens thus far. And no, Papa Xander isn't a character that we have seen repetitively, like we have Maddie and Ren and all the rest of them, but at the end of the day, that was Xander's dad, and like, my heart broke for Xander's dad. Like, it broke for Xander because that's a parent. And he's going to grieve that loss forever. And he is going to blame himself forever because he didn't ask his father if he could take the boat. And he did talk to his dad before his dad died, before all of that happened. And he was like, bruh, like, why were you even on the boat? And the father had just disclosed to him that him and his mother were having, like, a hard time, and that his boat is really all that he had left. Which, I mean, that's not really a good thing to say to your kid. It's like, you and my boat are all that I have left, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. And as he's dying, of course, he gives this speech about, you know, him preparing him to be the captain, and that now he owns the ship, and then he died, and it was really sad. And then they wrapped him up in the tarp, and they were trying to figure out their story. One wanted to call the Coast Guard. The other one was like, nobody's gonna believe that. Even though you had all those spears on your boat, which proved your story, no one was gonna believe that. So they just said that something happened and he tripped overboard and was lost at sea. They dumped his body into the water. Now, the one thing I will say is the error in the editing. When they dumped him into the water, the sun was just rising, so the sky was kind of bright from sunrise brightness in the sky. And then after they dumped him and they go back to them on the board, like they go to the scene of the body being dunked and going into the water, they go back to the scene of them, and it's now nighttime again. How? Just wondering, but you know, no problem. So, now it's very clear from this whole entire, and that was basically the whole episode, like legit, that was legit basically the whole episode. Now, moving forward, we already kind of know what's gonna happen. Xander now has this vendetta against the Sirens, and he is out to kill them. But here's my issue with it, and I'm gonna be very honest. Now, Xander, you know I love you. Ian, you know I love you. I think you play Xander very well. But at the end of the day, this is my issue. While it sucks that your father died, I'm not trying to point any fingers, but I am stating the obvious and taking a very, like, logical, not emotional, but logical reality, is that you went out hunting them. You went to go hunt them. Who gets hunted without putting up a fight? Watch National Geographics. Watch the movie Hush on Netflix, okay? Like, nobody is going down without a fight. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks that your dad died, but like, they weren't gonna just let you take them. So you can't really be mad at them for defending themselves. It's no different than if they were hunting you and you were to have shot and killed one of them. You were defending yourself. Self-defense! Sorry, you guys. Anyone who is an OG, as told by a GG watcher, knows my background is criminal justice, so those little things come out in me. Merp. But yeah, so that was the whole entire episode. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen moving forward, especially now that Ren is released. I'm really pissed that we didn't see a Helen at all this episode, like not once, not at all. And I really want to know, what is the storyline with Helen? Like I said earlier in this video, a lot of you guys, well, not a lot of you, like one of you, okay, maybe two, have been asking me about my theories and what do I think is happening. And I'm sure someone is going to ask me about my theory of the merman or the siren man. Like, okay, so if he's a siren, is siren a unisex name? Or is siren a feminine name? Like, what do we call a male siren? What do we call him? Okay, well, the siren naked man. What would be my theory on him? I'm wondering if he is somehow linked to Helen, because my theory is that as a siren you never age, and I feel like the only reason why Helen is as old as she is because she made the transition from sea to land, so therefore her body is aging because she's now in human form like it would on land. So I'm wondering if like she knows something about this merman, or she's somehow linked to them. Like, I know someone had asked about my theory on Helen as a siren, and I think maybe if you guys are interested, let me know. I will do a separate video of some theories. I can like really sit down and think about it, and we can come together and discuss. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. I can always do it as an Insta live, which is what I used to do with Pretty Little Liars. Those are always fun, or a YouTube live. But yeah, you let me know. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, or if you enjoyed a meh and you want to see more from a meh, then you know what to do. You need to be part of the GG Meister Merpod Squad and come swimming with us on all of our adventures. How might you do that, you're probably asking? Well, it's simple. All you have to do is rate, comment, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring, and I'll be seeing you in my next video. Love and like, share. Bye!